Nico Hua once again kicked me out of the car for his first love, Vivi Lu. I dragged my injured foot through the late-night streets, stumbling along for 2 hours without being able to hail a single taxi. At that moment, Vivi Lu sent me a voice message. When I opened it, it was Nico Hua's heartfelt voice. Vivi, I regret it. As long as you come back, I'll call off the wedding with Ruby Shu. I played this voice message on repeat. After the pain reached its peak, there was a sense of release. To fulfill Nico Hua's love, I chose to leave on the eve of the wedding. I thought my departure was an act of selflessness, but I never expected that after I left, Nico Hua would search for me frantically everywhere. I received the voice message from Vivi Lu while I had already been waiting for a taxi on the cold street for 2 hours. The snow-covered street was bitterly cold and utterly deserted. I played Nico Hua's heartfelt confession on repeat, dispelling the silence and fear of the night. Vivi Lu sent me several more videos. She was sitting in the passenger seat of Nico Hua's car, smiling sweetly. Nico Hua cooked her a late-night snack, and Nico Hua applied medicine to her leg. Nico Hua carried her upstairs, and in the end, Vivi Lu lay on the bed in the marital bedroom that belonged to me and Nico Hua, wearing her pajamas. She asked Nico Hua with a smile, "Brother Nico, you've always remembered our promise, right? You haven't touched Ruby Shu in these 6 years, have you? Let me tell you, if you've touched Ruby Shu, you're no longer clean, and I won't want you anymore." Nico didn't answer, just held Vivi Lu in his arms and lowered his head to kiss her lips. Tears blurred my vision, and I cried uncontrollably on the late-night street, over a decade of emotions, over a decade of devotion, over a decade of reluctance. Finally, at this moment, I found a reason to let go. I made a phone call. "Auntie, I don't want to get married anymore." My aunt, who was abroad, paused for a moment. "If you don't want to, then don't. I've told you many times that Nico Hua isn't the right person, but you just wouldn't listen. It's not too late to regret now. Ruby, come abroad and stay with me." I sobbed in agreement, and my aunt sighed. "Don't cry. You're still so young, there's no need to grieve over a man who isn't worth it." Before today, I always thought Nico Hua was my support. I thought I had found my happiness. I met Nico Hua when we graduated from university, and we were together for 6 years. Besides holding hands, we never did anything more intimate. I always thought Nico Hua respected me and wanted to save the most beautiful moments for our wedding night. If it weren't for the video Vivi Lu posted, I would never have imagined that Nico Hua's refusal to be intimate with me wasn't out of respect, but because he was saving himself for Vivi Lu. How ridiculous. He was with me for 6 years just to force Vivi Lu to come back to him, with Nico Hua. I have told him more than once about my family of origin. He knows the harm Vivi Lu has caused me. He knows that Vivi Lu and her mistress mother killed my mother and took everything from me. He knows how much I hate Vivi Lu and Vivi Lu's mistress mother, yet he still hurt me like this for Vivi Lu, knowing that Nico Hua only used me as a tool to play with to provoke Vivi Lu into coming back. I am completely heartbroken by him. It was already the next morning when I returned to the wedding home I shared with Nico Hua. I pushed the door open and immediately saw Nico Hua and Vivi Lu in the dining room. The two were sitting face to face, having breakfast. Vivi Lu said in a sweet, coquettish tone, "Nico, I never expected the breakfast you made to be so delicious. I have been with Nico Hua for 6 years, and he has never once stepped into the kitchen. I always thought he couldn't cook. They say that to keep a man's heart, you must first keep his stomach. For these 6 years, I have been like a devoted housewife, meticulously preparing 3 meals a day for him. Even when I was sick, I never missed a meal, afraid that he wouldn't be used to eating food from outside. Now, looking at the exquisitely prepared breakfast on the dining table, I finally understand. Nico Hua isn't incapable of cooking, he simply can't be bothered to do it. After all, I'm not the one he loves. So he has no reason to go to the trouble of cooking for me." The two of them in the dining room were gazing at each other affectionately, completely unaware of my presence. It wasn't until they heard the heavy sound of me slamming the door that they both looked over. Nico Hua stood up, frowning. "You're back. Where were you last night? Why didn't you come home?" Was he asking a question he already knew the answer to? "Last night, it was snowing so heavily outside. Yet he pushed me out of the car for Vivi Lou and left me without a second thought. Now you're pretending to ask me why I didn't come back, with such heavy snow, frequent traffic accidents, and me being in such a remote place. How could I possibly get a taxi? Even if I could get a taxi and rush back, what difference would it make? Would I deliberately take a taxi back just to watch them being affectionate on the wedding bed I prepared? I didn't want to say a word as I moved past Nico Hua, ready to go upstairs, but he stopped me, explaining guiltily, Vivi was in a car accident last night and hurt her leg, so I brought her back. Even though Vivi was injured, she didn't forget about you. She's been very worried and kept urging me to find you. Ruby, you two are sisters, sharing the same blood. The grudges of the older generation shouldn't. From the very first day Nico Hua and I were together, I did not hide my family background from him. He has always been very clear about the relationship between me and Vivi Lou, and he knows that Vivi Lou's mistress mother caused my mother's death. He knows how Vivi Lou bullied me when we were young, and he knows how much I hate Vivi Lou. But now he wants me to reconcile with Vivi Lou. How could he say such things? I couldn't take it anymore and interrupted him. She has nothing to do with me. Please don't associate her with me. I will never forgive the mistress or the mistress's daughter. My words angered Nico Hua, and his voice suddenly rose. Ruby, do you know what you're saying? How can you be so unreasonable? Apologize to Vivi right now. I'd rather die than apologize to Vivi Lou. I looked coldly at Nico Hua. What if I don't apologize? What will you do? You're simply unreasonable. No wonder no one has ever liked you. Ruby, can't you change your inability to distinguish right from wrong? I never knew that not forgiving the mistress and her daughter, not forgiving a malicious woman who has been bullying me and taking everything from me, could be wrong. Hurtful and piercing words poured out of Nico Hua's mouth like a rapid-fire cannon. His tenderness was all reserved for Vivi Lou. Towards me, there was only malice, disdain, and indifference. No wonder he pretended for 6 years. And today he finally couldn't hold back and tore off the mask, watching Nico Hua protect Vivi Lou as if she were some precious treasure, and seeing the fleeting triumph in Vivi Lou's eyes. I couldn't help but feel my eyes welling up. I struggled to hold back the tears in my eyes, but they still moistened. I hate myself for being so weak. I had already decided to give up, so why am I crying over a man like this? After venting at me, Nico Hua finally saw how disheveled and miserable I looked. Seeing the tears in my eyes, he seemed to soften a little. He slowed his tone and reached out to take my hand. Ruby, I'm doing this for your own good. Vivi is generous and won't hold what you said to her today against you. I just hope that in the future, we won't have a future anymore. I stared at Nico Hua, enunciating each word clearly. He was clearly taken aback. What did you say, Ruby? You. Before Nico Hua could finish his question, Vivi Lou, who had been hiding behind him looking pitiful, covered her face and ran away crying. Seeing this, Nico Hua felt heartbroken, left me behind, and chased after her. I limped upstairs and pushed open the door to the master bedroom of our marital home. The bed was in disarray, showing how intense the battle had been last night. My wedding photo with Nico Hua lay on the floor. This was the wedding photo I had begged Nico Hua for a long time to take with me. I brought it back and placed it in the bedroom as if it were a treasure. I used to wipe it clean every day, but now it's discarded on the floor like trash. I grinned, walked over, picked up the wedding photo, and smashed it forcefully a few times. The frame quickly shattered under my violence, and I took out the wedding photo from inside. In the wedding photo, I am beaming with joy, while Nico Hua wears a stern expression. I recall the gentle, jade-like smile he had in the video posted by Vivi Lou. It turns out he isn't incapable of smiling, he just wasn't willing to smile for me. Love and indifference are so clearly distinct. I must have been blinded by foolishness all along. I found a pair of scissors and cut the wedding photo in half, separating the two people. Nico Hua, from now on, I don't want you anymore. I spent the whole day cleaning the wedding room. I designed and decorated the wedding room for Nico Hua and me with great effort. I designed and decorated the marital home with all the love in my heart, and I even gave it a cheesy name, Love Nest. Now, this love nest is occupied by another woman, and it makes me sick. I threw away the bedding and the wedding decorations I had prepared for so long. Everything lovingly prepared for Nico was packed up and thrown out by me. Even that engagement ring I had spent so long picking out was thrown into the trash, after spending a whole day clearing everything out. I called the real estate agent and put the house up for sale. Then, I grabbed my suitcase and left the marital home for my other apartment. When I arrived at the apartment, Nico called, "Ruby, I have to go on a business trip for a few days. We'll have to postpone our appointment at the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow." I responded indifferently, and Nico's voice carried a rare hint of guilt. "Once I'm back from the business trip, we'll go get our marriage certificate, if it's too rushed. We can hold the wedding first and then register." I responded indifferently, and as if sensing my coldness, Nico added, "Last night's incident was my oversight, and I apologize to you, Ruby. Wait for me. I'll come back with a big surprise for you." After hanging up, I let out a cold laugh. I didn't understand why Nico felt the need to lie to me. Since Vivi Lou had agreed to be with him, he should have been straightforward and honest with me, allowing me to step aside for them. Yet he kept lying, unaware that the Vivi Lou he liked had long since exposed his deceit. Vivi Lou's social media feed clearly and unmistakably showed me the daily affection between her and Nico. Nico and Vivi Lou flew abroad for a vacation. They chose Paris, reportedly planning to visit the Eiffel Tower and a lavender estate. I have mentioned all these to Nico before, but Nico hasn't done a single thing for me. Now he is going to fulfill Vivi Lou's demands. Love and the lack of it are clear and obvious. Vivi Lou provocatively told me that Nico is only not breaking up with me now to humiliate me. He wants to change the bride at the wedding to make me feel ashamed and become a laughingstock. Since that's the case, let's see who ends up being the joke then. I decided to cut ties with Nico and leave this place of heartbreak. I submitted my resignation at the company and booked a flight to go abroad on the day of the wedding. My friends and colleagues all thought I resigned to get married. A close colleague even sent me a message asking about the wedding, but received my notice of cancelling the wedding. The day before the wedding, Nico finally returned. It had been half a month since we last saw each other, and during that time, I didn't call or send a single message to Nico. Instead, it was Nico who kept sending me messages and calling me non-stop. He pretended to be affectionate just to humiliate me at the wedding. I saw through it but didn't expose him. The day he returned, Nico went to our wedding house but couldn't get in. I had already sold the wedding house at a very low price, and the new owner changed the password after moving in. Nico called me, "Ruby, why can't I get into the wedding house?" I replied nonchalantly, "I have a surprise prepared at the wedding house. Let's go there after the wedding." Over the past 6 years, I've prepared so many big and small surprises for Nico that he probably thought I was planning something major, so he didn't bring up entering the wedding house again. "Ruby, let's go home tonight. My parents want to see you." Nico's parents have been very kind to me, so I have no reason to refuse. I arrived at the family's house right on time in the evening, but I never expected to see Vivi Lou there. She wasn't alone. She was there with her mistress mother and my scumbag father at the family's house. When I entered, Nico's parents, my scumbag father, and Vivi Lou's mistress mother were happily discussing the wedding arrangements. I didn't see Nico and Vivi Lou, but as I walked into the living room, there was movement on the stairs. I saw Nico in formal attire and Vivi Lou in a gown coming down from upstairs. Vivi Lou's gown was beautiful, even more stunning than my wedding dress on my wedding day. I quietly watched as Nico and Vivi Lou walked down the stairs arm in arm. Seeing me, Nico took the initiative to speak. "Ruby, you're here." Vivi insisted on being a bridesmaid, and since you're her only sister, we agreed. Vivi Lou's mistress mother and my scumbag father were explaining why Vivi Lou was wearing an expensive dress. I looked at them expressionlessly. Does being a bridesmaid require wearing a custom-made dress that's no different from a wedding gown? Isn't it just to ensure a seamless transition at the wedding? They really had a clever plan in mind. Everyone in this room is well aware of the relationship between Nico and Vivi Lou. I also saw no need to hide it. They look great. If one didn't know better, they'd think they were the bride and groom. Seeing me say this, Nico let go of Vivi Lou's hand and walked over. "Ruby, let me explain about the dress." "No need to explain." I waved my hand. You must have your reasons for doing this. I believe you. Seeing how agreeable and uncomplaining I was, Nico Hua's expression froze slightly. He stared at me carefully, and I sat calmly on the sofa, eating the cherries Mrs. Hua handed to me. When I was eating the third one, Nico Hua suddenly sat down beside me. "Where is your wedding ring?" I replied coldly. "I left it at home." Nico Hua was not pleased and questioned me. "Didn't you say you would wear it all the time and never take it off?" I once thought Nico Hua loved me. So we decided to get married. After he put the ring on my finger, I swore I would never take it off. But later I found out that this ring wasn't the only one. There were 3, and the other one was on Vivi Lu's finger. "It's inconvenient to wear." Seeing my indifferent expression, Nico Hua's face also darkened. He spoke to Vivi Lu in a sulky manner, but I showed no reaction and continued eating my fruit. Finally unable to bear it, he went upstairs again with Vivi Lu. Seeing this, Mother Hua also felt it was inappropriate and reminded me to go upstairs to check, but I refused. Whatever Nico is doing with Vivi Lu now has nothing to do with me. Dinner was prepared lavishly, and Vivi Lu quickly took the seat to Nico Hua's left. I went to the other side of the dining table without any expression, keeping my distance from them. Vivi Lu kept helping Nico Hua with the dishes, speaking to him in a sweet and coquettish tone. I lowered my head and ate my meal in silence. Until an extra shrimp appeared in my bowl, I looked up, and Vivi Lu across from me was looking at me ingratiatingly. "Sis, I heard from brother Nico that you like shrimp." I expressionlessly pushed the shrimp out of my bowl. "I don't like shrimp because I'm allergic to seafood." Seeing me push the shrimp Vivi Lu had placed in my bowl away, Nico Hua spoke up unhappily. "Ruby, he's warning me, telling me to behave. But who does he think he is? Why should I ruin my health for him?" I ignored him. Nico Hua ate expressionlessly, while Vivi Lu started to complain with a grievance. "I know my sister doesn't like me. She must be treating me this way because she dislikes me being her bridesmaid. But my only wish right now is to be my sister's bridesmaid. Sister, can you please not hate me?" She spoke in such a pitiful manner, as if I were bullying her. Nico Hua looked very upset, and even Mr. and Mrs. Hua gave me strange looks. I lowered my head and said nothing, just kept eating. Seeing that I didn't respond, Vivi Lu sobbed and got up to leave. Nico Hua chased after her. I finished my dinner without much emotion, and all this distress ends today. Starting tomorrow, I will have no further interaction with anyone here. When I left the Hua family, I politely said goodbye to Mr. and Mrs. Hua. "Thank you for your care and understanding over the past 6 years." Mother Hua looked at me with a complex expression. "Ruby, you're a good kid, but you need to know your limits. You went a bit too far tonight." I didn't respond. It's true that Mother Hua has been good to me, but that kindness is based on Nico. Hasn't she noticed the unusual behavior between Nico and Vivi Lu? She didn't blame her own son, she didn't blame Vivi Lu, but instead, she criticized me. It seems her kindness towards me was only to this extent. I originally thought it would be unfair to leave without saying goodbye tomorrow, but seeing Mrs. Hua's attitude, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. I no longer owe anyone anything and can leave with a clear conscience and without any burden. Back at the apartment, my phone rang. Nico Hua was calling. I refused to answer the call, and he quickly sent a message. "Vivi will be the bridesmaid tomorrow, and that's not changing. If you don't agree, then we don't need to get married." From the moment we decided to get married until now, Nico Hua has never contributed in the slightest to the wedding. I customized my wedding dress myself. I booked the hotel, and I contacted the wedding planning company. He never got involved, as if he were an outsider. I always thought he was too busy, and I felt sorry for him for working so hard. I'd rather bear all the hardships myself. But he must have been laughing at how foolish I was, watching me run around like that. Thankfully, I woke up just in time. It's not too late since no major mistake was made. I'm glad Nico Hua stayed faithful to Vivi Lu and didn't touch me. I'm glad I left clean and pure, otherwise, how disgusted would I be in the future, knowing I'd been touched by such a repulsive scumbag. I'm ignoring Nico Hua, and Vivi Lu actually sent me a provocative message again. Nico Hua carefully kissed away the tears on Vivi Lu's face, repeatedly promising her, "I will take responsibility for you. You are the one I love the most." The two of them embraced each other tightly. kissing passionately and unable to part. "Heh," I sneered coldly. "If you're so eager to disgust me, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Tomorrow, I will definitely send a big gift to that scumbag Nico Hua and that despicable woman Vivi Lu. I hope they like the big gift I'm sending." Washed up and went to bed, had a good night's sleep. The next morning, the alarm clock rang, and I quickly got up and washed up. Carrying simple luggage, I hurried to the airport. Just as I was boarding the plane, Nico Hua's call came through. I ignored it, and immediately after, Nico Hua sent a voice message. "Ruby Shu, where are you right now? Ruby, answer me. Where are you? I'm coming to find you right now. Why did you sell our house? Why did you get rid of all our things? So many gifts. The wedding photos, why did you dispose of them without even telling me?" Nico Hua's voice trembled slightly, and faint voices of others could be heard nearby. "Ms. Shu transferred the property to me half a month ago. Here is the property ownership certificate. By the way, I found this ring in the trash. The agent who sold the house isn't answering her phone or replying to messages. It looks expensive, so I didn't dare to throw it away. Could this be yours?" The beautiful flight attendant reminded us to turn off our phones, and I didn't hesitate to switch mine off. The plane soared into the clouds, and I gazed out the window. The blue sky and golden sunlight signaled a promising start to the journey. I wished myself a smooth journey ahead, future prosperity, staying away from toxic people, and a life filled with happiness and safety. After more than 40 hours of a long-haul flight, I had been sleeping the whole time. The plane landed smoothly, and as I walked out of the airport, I saw my aunt who had been waiting for me. She ran over with a smile, hugged me, and while kissing my cheek, she said, "Well done, that's exactly how you should deal with scumbags and lowlifes." My aunt helped me with my luggage as we walked out, chatting with me along the way. Auntie already knows what happened back home, and her phone has been blowing up. You know, that scumbag Nico who called me dozens of times, constantly asking about your whereabouts. How could I possibly tell him? I blocked dozens of his phone numbers, and then I curiously checked the domestic news reports. Only then did I find out that you managed to discuss them in such a way. Auntie laughed heartily. "I never expected you to do something like this. That scumbag Nico Hua, acting all devoted. If I hadn't seen those videos of him and Vivi Lu, I might have been fooled too. Now he and that bitch Vivi Lu deserve each other forever." My aunt's words made me laugh uncontrollably. I didn't originally intend to discuss Nico Hua and Vivi Lu. Actually, Vivi Lu shouldn't be so aggressive. I left with the principle of parting on good terms, but they were just too bullying. Nico Hua used me as a tool to provoke Vivi Lu, and I have no intention of pursuing the matter. I figured, no matter what, it was my own foolishness. I brought this on myself. Although Nico Hua is not a decent person, his parents have genuinely been good to me. I was willing to let it go out of respect for his parents, but he's just too much of a bully. They actually wanted to embarrass me at the wedding by having a custom-made wedding dress for Vivi Lu that wasn't even a bridesmaid dress. When I disagreed with Vivi Lu being a bridesmaid, they had the nerve to threaten me and even talked about cancelling the wedding. As for Vivi Lu, she has already taken Nico Hua back from me. I let go and allowed her to have him as the other woman. She should have known her place and stayed in it, but she doesn't want to stay in her place. Instead, she keeps sending me video messages, again and again. Vivi Lu probably thought I would cry like a coward. Given how much I loved Nico Hua, she thinks she's the winner. After all, her mistress mother won over my mother back then, and now she has surpassed her by winning over me. She wants to declare her victory to me. Since Vivi Lu is so proud and eager to declare what she has done, I'll grant her wish. I contacted the wedding planning company and paid the full cost of the wedding, with only one condition. As the bride, I will not be attending this wedding. I have asked the wedding company to create a video of Vivi Lu and Nico Hua's affectionate moments and play it on a loop on the big screen at the wedding venue. Vivi Lu posted so many of her affectionate moments with Nico Hua, but she never dreamed that I would save them as evidence of her affair with Nico Hua. Even less did she expect that I would boldly play it in front of all the guests on the wedding day. My colleagues and friends on my side were all informed one by one that the wedding was cancelled, and none of the guests from the Hua family, my scumbag father, or Vivi Lu's mistress mother's relatives had any idea what was going on. Without exception, they all went to the hotel for the banquet as per the invitation. The hotel I booked is a 5-star hotel, and the dishes are absolutely delicious. I wonder what expressions the Hua family's guests will have while enjoying the delicious food and watching the videos, photos, and texts of Nico Hua and Vivi Lu's affair. Aunt said it's all over the internet. Nico Hua and Vivi Lu, that scumbag and that bitch, are being torn to shreds online. I smiled and turned on my phone, which was immediately bombarded with frantic calls and messages. Before I could even check who they were from, another call came in. I answered the call without much emotion. And Nico Hua's voice came through, tense and clear. "Ruby, you finally picked up. Ruby, let me explain." "Explain what?" "Explain that you and Vivi Lu were having an affair in our marital home. Explain that you took Vivi Lu on a trip to France. Explain that you were still holding and kissing her the night before our wedding." "No, Ruby, it's not what you think. My feelings for Vivi Lu, we are completely innocent. I only see her as a sister. I was just comforting her. We didn't do anything." I sneered. "Dare to do it but not own up to it. Nico Hua, your surname is Hua, and hers is Lu. What kind of siblings are you? Not to mention, I've never in my life heard of siblings who passionately kiss and end up in bed. Please, don't disgust me." "Okay, that's not it, Ruby. Those photos are fake. I was just grateful to her. Vivi Lu has depression. She said she liked me. She cut her wrist in a suicide attempt. I was just afraid she might do something drastic and tried to comfort her. Please believe me, the one I love has always been you." Listening to these meaningless explanations, I hung up Nico Hua's call without any emotion. How ridiculous. Does Vivi Lu have depression? Isn't that just a fantasy? The Vivi Lu I know has always been synonymous with malice and wickedness. After her mistress mother drove my mother to her death and brought Vivi Lu into our home, what I encountered was a vicious flower of evil, Vivi Lu, to the extreme. She is as shameless and cruel as her mistress mother. In front of my scumbag father, she called me sister repeatedly, but behind his back, she cut my dresses to shreds and tore up my mother's memorial photo. She pretended that I pushed her down the stairs, pretended that I locked her out of the house, making my scumbag father punish, blame, and despise me. But the one who was truly bullied and hurt has always been me. In the more than 10 years after my mother's death, while I was still a minor, I suffered countless instances of bullying and framing by Vivi Lu. Even at school, she teamed up with a group of delinquent girls to bully me. They locked me in the classroom, locked me in the utility room. My books were defiled, torn, and discarded by them. She even maliciously gathered a group of thugs to try to tarnish my innocence. That night, I was more cautious and didn't take my usual route home. Instead, I chose another path and encountered a young man lying in a pool of blood on the way. I called 120 to save the unconscious boy, which also gave me a chance to survive. That boy was from a wealthy family, and the police spent months investigating and searching for the perpetrator in the area. Because of this, the bullying by Vivi Lu finally stopped, and I safely made it through high school, got into college, and escaped that hellish family. Nico Hua loves Vivi Lu. In Nico Hua's heart, even if Vivi Lu were to commit murder and arson, she would still be beautiful. I didn't want to argue with him, so I hung up and blocked him in one go. I never expected Nico Hua to track me down overseas. I saw Nico Hua again 3 days later. He showed up near my aunt's place. He stubbornly kept watch and refused to leave. So security called the police. I had no choice but to go out to see him. Nico Hua looked like he had lost a lot of weight. He was squatting on the ground, looking dejected, but his face lit up with surprise when he saw me walk out. He stood up and quickly walked toward me. "Ruby, what exactly do you want?" I asked coldly. "Ruby, I know you've misunderstood my relationship with Vivi Lu. There's really nothing between us. I came to see you today just to explain our relationship to you." Nico Hua urgently explained to me his relationship with Vivi Lu. He said that he and Vivi Lu are truly very innocent, and the reason he cares so much about Vivi Lu is because she is his lifesaver. During my senior year of high school, my father's enemies arranged for someone to harm me, and when my life was hanging by a thread, it was Vivi Lu who saved my life. Could someone as venomous-hearted as Vivi Lu actually save a person? It sounds as absurd as a fairy tale to me. Yet Nico Hua firmly insists that it was Vivi Lu who saved him. He said that after his rescue, his parents arranged for an investigation, and it was confirmed that the person was indeed Vivi Lou. Vivi Lou still has bloodstains on her clothes from when she helped him after he was injured. Nico Hua rambled on about the date he was injured and his gratitude toward Vivi Lou. Ruby, I really don't have romantic feelings for Vivi Lou. I'm just grateful for her life-saving kindness back then. She has depression and can't handle stress. I know she likes me. Nico Hua scratched his head. I really don't love her romantically. I just pity her and sympathize with her illness. If it weren't for her, I would have died long ago. So, out of gratitude for Vivi Lou saving my life, I have to tolerate and help her. Ruby, can you believe me just this once? Can you let go of your hatred for Vivi Lou because of this? No, I refused Nico Hua's request without hesitation. Vivi Lou is malicious at heart. She doesn't have depression at all. If anyone has depression, it would be the people she bullied, and I don't believe she would save anyone. Ruby, why won't you believe me? Nico Hua was frantic. I only trust my intuition. I know a dog can't change its habit of eating shit. I'm telling the truth. Why won't you believe me? Nico Hua repeated the details of how Vivi Lou saved him, and I was so annoyed that I turned and walked away. My aunt was waiting for me in the living room and breathed a sigh of relief when she saw me return. Did you sort it out? He seems crazy, constantly insisting that he and Vivi Lou aren't in love, and that he's only helping Vivi Lou out of gratitude for saving his life. I repeated Nico Hua's words to my aunt, who frowned and suddenly exclaimed, Ruby, don't you find it strange? What? Think carefully about the date and location of the rescue, my aunt's words reminded me. And upon careful thought, a look of shock appeared on my face. No way, 10 years ago on New Year's Day, it was the day Nico Hua had the accident, at the location Nico Hua mentioned. At the same time, I also saved a boy covered in blood. Could it be such a coincidence? I don't believe Vivi Lou would save anyone. She is not a kind person at all, and the exact same incident at the same place and time is highly suspicious no matter how you look at it. Nico Hua said he saw blood-stained clothes at Vivi Lou's house. When I helped the injured boy, I was covered in his blood, so I changed my clothes after returning home. The clothes later went missing, and I didn't pay much attention to it. Could it be that Vivi Lou took them to impersonate the situation? I suddenly remembered something. Because of what happened that night, my aunt rushed back from abroad and rented a new apartment for me to live in. My aunt stayed with me until the college entrance exams were over. With her by my side, I never went back to that suffocating home again. After that, I cut ties with my scumbag father. My aunt across from me said slowly and deliberately, they must have taken credit for your act of saving someone. I always wondered why your scumbag father's business suddenly took off. Could it be that the Hua family helped him because of this? Xiaoyu was so furious that she kept cursing under her breath. That scumbag and that bitch, they killed my sister and still treat you like this. Ruby, we can't let this go, we must get to the bottom of it. My aunt is a woman of action and immediately started investigating. During the time my aunt was investigating, Nico Hua kept pestering me relentlessly. I showed him not the slightest bit of kindness, yet he did not back down. Because Nico Hua stayed abroad to try to win me back, Vivi Lou couldn't sit still. She also flew abroad to follow him. On the very first day Vivi Lou arrived abroad, she came to see me. I had no desire to meet her, and I deleted all her calls and messages. Seeing that I paid no attention, Vivi Lou actually came to my workplace to confront me in person. Ruby Shu, we need to talk, since things have come to this. I won't refuse either. I crossed my arms and looked at Vivi Lou. If you have something to say, say it. If you have nothing but nonsense, get it over with. Vivi Lou glared at me resentfully. Why are you haunting Nico like a ghost? You clearly know that Nico only has me in his heart, so why won't you let go? Why are you playing this game of playing hard to get? Playing hard to get? That's truly laughable, Vivi Lou said angrily. Nico and I were about to get married, but it was because of your shameless runaway that we were humiliated at the wedding, and so many people blamed Nico. He came to find you only because he wanted to seek your forgiveness. If your Nico loves you so much, why didn't he just marry you? Why did he come looking for his ex? Isn't it because he pities you and is afraid you might do something drastic? Isn't it you who's the one overthinking things? I heard you have depression. I looked Vivi Lou up and down. You don't look like someone with depression at all. I bet your depression is fake, isn't it? What nonsense are you talking? You know very well whether I'm talking nonsense or not. Vivi Lou, I've always known you're shameless. But I never expected you to be this shameless. Do stolen things make you feel insecure? Is that why you keep making up one lie after another to cover your tracks? I don't understand what you're talking about. Vivi Lou looked flustered. Under my attack, she grew guilty. I saw it clearly and smiled. How could you not understand what I mean? Why don't you tell me all about your love story with your Nico brother? Tell me, when did you two start falling for each other? Why should I tell you? As long as you stop pestering Nico, we can go back to how things were. Her tone was already weak, and I laughed mockingly. Go back to how things were, back to when you saved him. Vivi Lou, are you that benevolent? Look at your vicious and shameless face. Would you really save someone? That's nothing but a fantasy. Vivi Lou's expression turned ashen, and all her arrogance vanished. I don't know what you're talking about. You can't drive a wedge between Nico and me. Yes, I know I can't drive a wedge between you two. I just want to confirm. Did you really save Nico Hua on New Year's Eve 10 years ago? Are you sure you were the one who saved him and not an imposter? Under my relentless questioning, Vivi Lou couldn't hold back anymore. Sis, I know you hate me. I've already admitted my mistakes and apologized to you. Can you please forgive me? Do you really have to push me to my death? As she finished speaking, she swayed unsteadily. Since you don't want to see me so badly, I'll just go die. As Vivi Lou spoke, a trace of blood appeared at the corner of her mouth. She clutched her chest and said, "If I die, will you finally forgive me?" I watched Vivi Lou coldly as she clumsily collapsed into Nico Hua's arms. I watched as Nico Hua anxiously called her name repeatedly. Vivi, hang in there. Brother Nico won't let you die. He held Vivi Lou in a panic, not forgetting to yell at me furiously. What are you standing there for? Hurry up and call an ambulance. How can you be so heartless? Ruby, I misjudged you. I remained unmoved as I looked at them. I bet she won't die. After all, if someone as shameless as her would commit suicide, then there would be no more shameless people left in this world. My words further enraged Nico Hua. If he hadn't been supporting Vivi Lou and had a free hand, I'm sure he would have rushed over to hit me. You're something else, Ruby Shu. I always thought you were gentle and kind. I never expected you to be so vicious. I hate myself for ever liking someone like you. I was so wrong about you. Right back at you. Hurry up and get lost with your sweetheart. Stop making a fool of yourself in public. Vivi Lou, with blood at the corner of her mouth, was taken to the hospital by an ambulance that happened to arrive. As I got into the ambulance, I saw the triumphant expression on her face. She was declaring to me that she had won another round. Looking at that detestable, smug smile on her face, I curled the corner of my lips. If you don't court death, you won't die. Since Vivi Lou is so eager to die, I must grant her wish. Counting the days, my aunt's investigation should have made progress, but I don't plan to reveal it now. Not for any other reason, but to fulfill Nico Hua's love. It's best for the scumbag and the cheap woman to be locked together, so they won't harm others. After being sent to the hospital, Vivi Lou was finally out of danger following emergency treatment. I heard she had taken a large amount of medication in an attempt to end her life when she came to see me. I have no idea what kind of drug would make her unable to die even if she wanted to. I don't believe she would try to kill herself anyway. But Nico Hua was convinced. I heard that Nico Hua was so heartbroken that, to ensure his savior wouldn't attempt suicide and would live well, he agreed to marry Vivi Lou. Their wedding is scheduled for next month. Freed from the annoying entanglement with a scumbag and no longer having to deal with a malicious green tea bitch, I feel much more at ease. The investigation my aunt initiated has yielded results, and the private detective's findings are piled high on the table. My aunt and I snacked while flipping through the investigation reports on Vivi Lou. Just as my aunt suspected, Vivi Lou and her mistress mother took credit for my actions after I saved Nico Hua back then. Because I moved away, there was only one girl left at home, with the clothes stained with Nico Hua's blood. The Hua family identified Vivi Lou as the one who saved Nico Hua. Out of gratitude, the Hua family extended a helping hand to my scumbag father's company. They fulfilled every request and assisted my scumbag father and his mistress, allowing them to enjoy a luxurious life for so many years. The three of them lived comfortably with the stolen gratitude, without any sense of guilt. A private investigator investigating Vivi Lu accidentally uncovered a shocking secret about my mother's death. My mother did not die a natural death, she was killed by the mistress. Vivi Lu's mistress mother secretly gave my mother banned drugs, causing her to hallucinate and fall down the stairs to her death. I grit my teeth in hatred. The hatred for killing one's mother is beyond reconciliation. I was actually deceived by them for so many years, always believing that my mother's death was natural. If they had kept a low profile, I would never have known about this matter. They wouldn't have had to worry about being exposed, but they just had to court death and flaunt themselves in front of me. I would be letting them down if I didn't tidy them up properly after all their careful planning. After reading the private investigator's report, my aunt and I both felt heavy-hearted. After a long silence, we looked at each other. I have an idea. We spoke in unison and simultaneously brought up the wedding. Let's stir things up at the wedding and let them experience the joy of feasting all over again. The wedding of Nico Hua and Vivi Lu is coming soon. The wedding was grand. And because Vivi Lu was in poor health, Nico Hua took care of everything personally. Every day, while I was far away in a foreign land, I would receive messages from an unknown number about the preparations for Nico Hua and Vivi Lu's wedding. The Hua family is wealthy and influential, giving only the best of everything. Unlike me back then, I prepared everything myself. I watched that unfamiliar number flaunt her wedding dress, flaunt her wedding ring, flaunt the wedding home she lives in. She even had to show off the hotel for the wedding banquet. I smiled as I watched Vivi Lu's boasting, waiting to see how she would fall. The wedding finally took place as scheduled, and Vivi Lu, along with her scumbag dad and mistress mom, the happy family of three, were cheerfully escorted to the hotel. The venue was filled with guests, and it seemed as if everyone had forgotten what had happened before. Everyone was smiling and congratulating Nico Hua and Vivi Lu. The wedding march began to play, and Nico Hua stood at the center of the stage, waiting for the scumbag dad to lead Vivi Lu by the hand and walk over. They smiled sweetly. Happiness was very close to them. But just as Vivi Lu was handed over to Nico Hua by her scumbag father, a sudden change occurred. The police entered the wedding venue and handcuffed Vivi Lu's mistress mother, who was beaming with joy. Vivi Lu's mistress mother was taken away for investigation, and the scumbag father couldn't escape either. The wedding was forced to halt once again. The news about Vivi Lu's mother committing murder quickly spread. Not only did Vivi Lu's mother commit murder, but news of Vivi Lu bullying other girls at school, including me, her half-sister, was also exposed. All the details of her planning with those delinquent girls and troublemakers to humiliate me were revealed. Of course, it also included her pretending to be a savior to deceive Nico Hua's family, including her finding a doctor to fake so-called depression to deceive Nico Hua, making Nico Hua serve her tirelessly. Nico Hua was furious after learning that it was all just a scam. The more he had defended and dedicated himself to Vivi Lu back then, the more disgusted he is now. Vivi Lu's mistress mother was sent to prison, and what awaits her is a sentence behind bars. The Hua family withdrew their support from the deadbeat dad, and his company quickly couldn't hold on. As for Vivi Lu, it is said that she was already pregnant with Nico Hua's child when they held their wedding. She even dreamed of using the child to control Nico Hua. Unfortunately, she thought too simply. Nico Hua arranged for someone to take Vivi Lu to the hospital, but Vivi Lu firmly refused. Later, an accident occurred, and the child was lost. She herself also suffered a fall that left her paralyzed from the waist down, and she will spend the rest of her life in a wheelchair. She always liked to feign illness to gain sympathy, so in a way, she got what she asked for. Nico Hua later came abroad to look for me, but I had already moved away with my aunt in advance. I never want to see this person again. My entanglement with him ended the moment he got together with Vivi Lu behind my back. The end. That's the end of the first story. I hope you enjoyed it. The next story will be even more exciting, so let's continue together. At 8 months pregnant, during a prenatal checkup, a single call from his childhood sweetheart made my husband abandon me and leave. In the past, I would have definitely made a scene in public, but this time, I just nodded calmly. Yes, she has depression. Go keep her company. I knew her depression was fake, but I didn't care anymore, because in 2 months, I'll be gone. 1. Betrayal in the circle of friends. Opening my phone, the first thing I saw was a photo of Shen Nanfeng and Zhao Xinga together in his circle of friends. In the past, I begged him to post pictures of us together, but he always looked at me coldly and called me childish. My name appeared on the display screen in the hospital lobby. Yunxia, why hasn't your husband come again? Didn't I tell you last time that family members must be present this time? You're already 8 months pregnant, there are so many things that need attention. The doctor spoke with frustration, as if disappointed by the situation. My face turned pale, and I could only use the same excuse I had relied on countless times before to cover up the failure of my marriage. No matter how busy work is, he can't just ignore his pregnant wife. I had just arrived home when Shen Nanfeng also came in, holding a bouquet of lisianthus in his hands. Every time he upset me before, he would always bring something back to appease me. It was his way of offering an olive branch. To maintain our fragile relationship, I would always accept it, even though I'm allergic to pollen. At night, my whole body would feel feverish and unbearably itchy. And that was one of the rare times Shen Nanfeng would feel guilty toward me. But next time, he will still forget that I'm allergic to pollen. This time, I don't want it anymore. Shen Nanfeng's face instantly darkened. Yunxia, what are you making a fuss about again? It's just that I didn't accompany you to the prenatal checkup. You've been going by yourself for the past few months, and you can manage just fine without me. After saying that, he paused. You saw the social media post. That was Xinga's prank. You know her condition. Why are you even jealous of her? In the past, I would have burst into tears, screaming at the top of my lungs like a madwoman, telling him that Zhao Xinga wasn't sick, that she didn't have depression, that it was all an act. Now, I just nodded calmly and said, "You're right." Shen Nanfeng was taken aback, not expecting my reaction, thinking it was a new way of me being jealous. At night, I was burning with fever. Despite all my efforts to avoid it, I still ended up having an allergic reaction. A look of surprise crossed Shen Nanfeng's face as he got up, dressed, and took me to the hospital. Just as we were about to leave, the phone rang. Zhao Xinga's voice choked with sobs as she cried, "Brother Nanfeng, please stop worrying about me. You have sister Yunxia to take care of. While I have nothing, I might as well just die." After saying this, she hung up the phone. Shen Nanfeng's face instantly turned panicked, and he grabbed his car keys and rushed out the door. I stood at the door, watching him speed off in his car. I withdrew my gaze and took a taxi to the hospital. I felt so unwell it was almost suffocating. And I spent the night on an 4 drip at the hospital. At 7 in the morning, I received a message from Shen Nanfeng. "Remember to take your medicine." I turned off my phone and didn't reply. Just as I was drifting off to sleep, my phone rang again. "Xinga is in an unstable condition, so I won't be coming back tonight." After saying this, he paused, afraid I would make a scene like before, and spoke condescendingly. "What do you want? I'll bring it back for you tomorrow." I refused and then hung up the phone. When I got home, I received another call from Shen Nanfeng. I waited quietly, but there was no sound from the other end. Suddenly, a male voice rang out. It was He Chen, Shen Nanfeng's good friend, his tone laced with teasing and envy. 2. Shen Nanfeng's indifference. "Nan, I really envy you. You have a beautiful wife at home about to give birth to your child, and outside, there's a sweet, tender childhood friend who wants no one but you. But your wife really has a good temper. If it were my wife at home, she would have already turned the world upside down." Shen Nanfeng said disdainfully. "She dares to make a scene with me. The position of Mrs. Shen is something she went to great lengths to beg for. Besides, she's pregnant, not disabled. Xinga can't do without me, but she managed to carry the child this far without me, didn't she?" The call ended. Tears silently streamed down my entire face. This isn't the first time I've heard Shen Nanfeng say something like this. That time, I broke down right in front of Shen Nanfeng's group of friends, hysterically arguing with him. "Yunxia, can you stop embarrassing me in public?" Since then, Shen Nanfeng has never taken me to his friends' gatherings again. I contacted the lawyer. Divorce agreement as soon as possible. I want nothing, including the child. A week had passed. And this was Shen Nanfeng's 66th time picking up his phone today. The man frowned, the familiar chat box remained silent. Chen leaned over to take a look. What are you looking at? Nan, has sister-in-law not contacted you for so many days? Shen Nanfeng kicked him away, his expression extremely unpleasant. Hey, brother Nan, where are you going? Nan scratched his head in frustration. A noise came from the door, and a man walked in with a dark expression. Seeing the takeout on the table, my gaze paused. Takeout? Yunxia, do you realize you're pregnant? Eating takeout is so bad for the baby. Is this how you act as a mother? My hand holding the chopsticks froze, and I looked up at him. Then what do you think I should eat? When I first got pregnant, my mom wanted to come take care of me, but he refused, saying it would spoil me. Now that my belly is big, I can't even reach the stove. Shen Nanfeng's expression softened a bit as he sat down beside me. If you want me to come back, just call me and apologize. Yunxia, don't be so stubborn, it won't do you any good. For the next while, Shen Nanfeng came home on time every day to cook for me. His cooking skills were something he learned for me back in the day, the year my studio was first established. I was so busy that I barely ate a bite for 2 or 3 days at a time. At that time, Shen Nanfeng was heartbroken and immediately learned how to prepare nutritious meals, delivering them to me on time every day and making sure I ate. In the evening, Shen Nanfeng offered to bathe me. We've been married for so long, what's there to be shy about? There's no part of you I haven't seen before. But the moment my clothes fell to the ground, I still didn't miss the look of disdain in his eyes. My swollen body from pregnancy became the reason he despised me. I still have some work to do. Go to sleep first tonight and don't wait for me. The study light turned on, then went out again shortly after. At night, I slowly opened my eyes. I heard the sound of the door opening and then gently closing. What closed wasn't just the door to the house, but also my heart. On the phone, Zhao Xinga sent a video. Nanji, I really thought you had turned over a new leaf. I've asked you out so many times, and you never came. In the video, Shen Nanfeng, holding Zhao Xinga in his arms, shot a glare at Chen upon hearing this. Xinga is here, watch your mouth. When I saw Yunxia's body at night, her legs were swollen like a pig's. I was so disgusted I didn't even want to touch her. Chen suddenly jumped up and spoke in disbelief. That's so disgusting. Good thing it's your sister-in-law. If it were Xinga, brother Nan, you'd be heartbroken to death. The man's mocking laughter, Zhao Xinga's provocative gaze. I lay awake all night with my eyes open. Early the next morning, Shen Nanfeng returned, made breakfast in the kitchen, and went back to the bedroom to catch up on sleep. The moment he lay down, I caught the distinct scent of Zhao Xinga's perfume. I closed my eyes tightly. There are still 2 weeks left. 3. Loneliness outside the delivery room. This is the last prenatal checkup. You can be admitted to the hospital now. This time, your husband must come to accompany you, right? The doctor couldn't understand how there could be such an irresponsible man. His wife was pregnant for 10 months. And he never once came for a prenatal checkup. I gave a faint smile and said goodbye to the doctor. The day before the due date, Shen Nanfeng was still nowhere to be seen. The doctor couldn't stand it any longer and called him. A man's voice sounded impatient. Let her mother come. I'm tied up with something and can't get away. Yunxia, can you not be so difficult? You've managed on your own for 10 months of pregnancy. Giving birth is just a matter of course, and I'm not a doctor. Is it really necessary for me to be there? The doctor widened his eyes in disbelief and was about to say something when the call was abruptly ended. My mood is very calm, and I even gave the doctor a bright smile. I am about to be free, 5 hours before giving birth. Shen Nanfeng's birthday celebration photos for Zhao Xinga flooded the circle of friends. In the photo, the man is looking at the woman with deep affection in his eyes. The comment section was filled with teasing. Brother Nan and Xinga are such a perfect match, handsome guy and beautiful girl, a natural pair. Yes, Xinga has been Brother Nan's little follower since childhood, always saying she'd marry no one but him. You people should have some shame. Shen Nanfeng is a married man now. Think about Yunxia's feelings when you say things like that. Don't say it like that. If that incident hadn't happened back then, what would Yunxia even have to do with this? Stop talking. It's all been said, my sister-in-law can see. The next second, The post was deleted from the moments I turned off my phone, feeling completely unruffled. Shen Nanfeng's friends all dislike me. They all think I stole Zhao Xing's place, that I'm the third party in their relationship. But the year I met Shen Nanfeng, it was he who held the ring, took my hand, and swore to me that he loved me and would treat me well for a lifetime. I believed the sincerity at that time was not false. But sincerity changes in the blink of an eye. Yunxia, it's time to go into the delivery room. The doctor no longer expects Shen Nanfeng to come and accompany me. For a full 5 hours, I was covered in cold sweat. Yunxia, hang in there, the doctor called out to me, urging me to stay conscious. I managed a faint smile. Finally, in the next second, the baby's cry echoed throughout the delivery room. I completely passed out and missed the first glimpse of my child. When I woke up, my mother was holding my hand, her face full of anxiety. I patted my mother's hand reassuringly, and her tears instantly fell onto my hand. At first, my mother did not agree to my marriage to Shen Nanfeng. Xia, you're too young. Their world is different from ours, you'll end up getting hurt. But back then, I was young and naive, thinking that love alone could overcome all difficulties. Auntie, let's talk. I slightly raised my eyes and looked at Mrs. Shen, who was clearly well prepared. My mother wiped away her tears and left the room. I got straight to the point. The child has been born. Let me go. As we agreed before, Shen's mother was not surprised, but simply asked me, are you content? Yunxia, now you have leverage. As long as you don't bring it up, Nanfeng won't divorce you. You have everything except love. I looked at the face before me, always smiling, always so confident of victory. The first time I met Shen's mother, she had the same expression. She invited me to a restaurant, and I thought the plot of a wealthy mother offering me 20 million to leave her son was about to happen to me. But she just chatted with me about everyday matters and even gave me a family heirloom bracelet to wear. Just then, Shen Nanfeng rushed in. At that moment, everything froze. He stared fixedly at the bracelet, his eyes bloodshot. Yunxia, how dare you betray me? The man's eyes no longer held the affection they once did, now filled with hatred. I panicked and quickly tried to pull the bracelet off my wrist, but even as my skin was rubbed raw and bleeding, it remained firmly in place. I wanted to explain, but Shen Nanfeng had already run away. I chased after him, and from behind came the voice of Shen's mother. It's no use. Nanfeng hates me. He detests everything related to me. You must have noticed that during his psychological counseling sessions, he is destined to be the heir of my Shen family. Love cannot become his weakness. Even if I do not love him, he must become my most perfect creation. I will not stop him from marrying you, but he cannot love you. The memories of the past remain as vivid as ever. I looked at her, my gaze unwavering. I have done what I promised you, let me leave. Shen's mother stared at me for a long time and agreed. In the evening, Shen Nanfeng, who had been missing for 3 days, appeared. The man's attitude suddenly became very attentive. When he tucked me in, I saw the marks on his body. Suddenly feeling nauseous, I pushed him away abruptly. Shen Nanfeng was taken aback. Yunxia, what are you doing? But upon seeing my pale face, his tone suddenly softened. This time it was my fault for being late. It won't happen again. Childbirth must have been tough. I heard you even had a difficult delivery. The 5 hours that felt like half a lifetime were spoken so lightly from his mouth, and in that instant, I let go of these 5 years. I opened my mouth, looked into his eyes, and said the words I could finally speak. 4. The decision to divorce, Shen Nanfeng. Let's get a divorce, I said calmly, and the man suddenly stood up, his eyes filled with disbelief. Then it turned into suspicion. It's not like I didn't come to be with you. And you still managed to give birth to the child just fine on your own. I promise I won't do this again next time. Alright, I'll just assume you're not thinking clearly after giving birth, so I'll forgive you. Just don't say things like that to me again. Then, without looking back, he quickly walked out of the room. On the day I left the postpartum care center, Shen Nanfeng, for once, showed up and took me home. The man is busy in the kitchen, and at the dining table. He attentively serves me food. I push it aside. You forgot, I don't eat eggplant. The man's hand freezes. I put down my chopsticks and look at him. I'm going back to the studio. Shen Nanfeng pursed his lips tightly. I don't agree. This is a notice, not a request. Shen Nanfeng, the man's hands gradually clenched, his gaze stubborn. Yunxia, why do you insist on working? Can't I support you? Can't I support our child? Does our Shen family lack the money you earn? I interrupted him. My voice as cold as frost. Shen Nanfeng, you've forgotten our original intention. The studio is called Nanxia, and it was established to help more people overcome their inner struggles, for example, Shen Nanfeng from the past. But in just 3 short years, Shen Nanfeng changed. If you love me, come back and have children with me. I compromised. I love Shen Nanfeng. Shen Nanfeng looked into my eyes, with a restraint in them that I couldn't decipher. I only knew that he still opposed me opening a studio. He couldn't accept a woman running around and striving outside, just like his mother. In the end, he still didn't trust me. For the past 5 years, he had never truly trusted me or my feelings. Since that's the case, let's get a divorce. This is the second time I've brought up divorce. Even if Shen Nanfeng is unwilling to believe it, he has to face it. What I didn't expect was that Shen Nanfeng went missing for a whole month to avoid it. I sent the divorce agreement to Shen Nanfeng and then turned off my phone. A month passed quickly, and Shen Nanfeng still hadn't made a move, so I had no choice but to contact a lawyer to file a lawsuit. The phone rang. It was Shen Nanfeng, who had been missing for a long time. Yunxia, it's not too late to regret now. I'll pretend you never mentioned divorce. I took a sip of tea. Shen Nanfeng, can't you just be decisive for once? The man exploded in an instant. Fine, Yunxia. Don't you dare beg me to give you the child later. It's impossible. Once we're divorced, don't even think about seeing the child again. Mentioning the child, my heart suddenly tightened. Even though I had long made up my mind to leave the child with the Shen family, my heart still ached faintly. From birth until now, I haven't even seen my child once. After all, this is the child I carried for 10 months and risked my life to bring into the world. Then, the sound of flipping through documents reached my ears. Suddenly, the flipping sound paused. The man's voice was filled with disbelief. You don't want the child? I urged him to quickly sign the divorce papers, but he turned a deaf ear, still stunned by my decision to give up custody of the child. Yunxia, don't you dare regret this. I'm too lazy to listen to a man's nonsense, so I just hung up the phone. Not having a child is the best solution. Shen's mother values this child greatly. Even if Shen Nanfeng treats him poorly for Zhao Xing's sake, he will have Shen's mother backing him up, so Shen Nanfeng can't do anything to him. This child is the agreement between me and Shen's mother. A year ago, I was about to go to the hospital to have an abortion when Mrs. Shen stopped me. She promised me that if I gave birth to this child, she would agree to any condition I had. You can take these 10 months to seriously reconsider your marriage with Nanfeng, even if there's no love. You've given the Shen family a new heir, and we won't treat you unfairly, but if you insist on getting a divorce, I won't let you see the child. A child of the Shen family cannot have weaknesses, even if you are his mother. The next day, the divorce papers were delivered, and we went to finalize the divorce that same day. Shen Nanfeng had a dark expression on his face the entire time. A 1-month cooling-off period. If you still decide to divorce after a month, then come back to complete the procedures. Walking out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, I drove away. It was the first time I didn't have to watch Shen Nanfeng's back as he left before me. I arrived at the studio. This past year, I was forced to stay home for pregnancy, and my career was put on hold. Now, I've finally returned. Xia, is that you? The girl looked up in surprise. You're finally back. The girl was Yang Shuang, whom I had sponsored 3 years ago, after graduating. She came directly to work at my studio. I smiled at her and suggested we go to a nearby restaurant to have a meal together. Only then did I realize that during the time the studio was closed, she had been coming every week to clean it. This way, Sister Xia can come back anytime she wants. There was a sparkle in the girl's eyes. After 2 days of preparation, the studio reopened, and many friends who had followed me before also returned. On the 8th day, I encountered my first patient since resuming work. His eyes were filled with ashes, yet I heard the cry for help from within his heart. Just like the first time I laid eyes on Shen Nanfeng. Shen Nanfeng was my first patient. The day I met him, It was pouring rain, and the playground was empty. Raindrops dripped from his hair onto the ground. I watched for a long time, as he ran lap after lap. Finally, as he passed by me once more, I reached out and grabbed his hand. "Classmate, if you keep running like this, you're going to get sick." In that glance, I saw the despair and loneliness in Shen Nanfeng's eyes. Perhaps from the very beginning of our meeting, it was destined that we wouldn't have a good ending. My thoughts returned to the present, and I looked at the boy in front of me, telling him my story in a gentle and detailed way. The boy's eyes flickered a bit, and he finally spoke his first words. "Don't you hate him?" I stared into his eyes. "Hate is not the reason we live in this world. Love is. This love can be for others, but more importantly, it is for oneself." I gave him a slight smile. "Time's up for now, come back next time." The boy left. His condition was much better than Shen Nanfeng's had been at the beginning. At least his heart is still crying out for help, he just needs a reason to keep going. And at that time, Shen Nanfeng was cold and despairing. I spent a lot of time, bit by bit, pulling him out of the mire, watching his eyes go from darkness to slowly gaining light, from indifference to gradually filling with love. In the end, it turned into hatred. "Sister Xiaxia, come quickly. Let's all go eat together." I snapped out of my thoughts, gathered my things, and left with them. 5 male leads perspective. Yunxia asked me for a divorce. How could that be? She loves me so much, how could she bear to leave me? So, in a fit of anger, I didn't contact her for a month. I wanted her to give in and come to me to apologize. But the moment I saw the divorce papers, I panicked. The house felt empty, and every trace of Yunxia stung my heart. Then Xinga called me again, crying and making a scene, saying she couldn't live without me. I turned off my phone and went to find Xinga, numbing myself to avoid thinking about Yunxia. A woman who took my mother's money and deliberately got close to me. What is there to love about her? Seeing Xinga with tear-streaked face, clinging tightly to me, I felt that I was needed by someone. Xinga's face gradually leaned closer to me, and in a daze, I seemed to see Yunxia looking at me with indifference. I pushed Xinga away, for the first time not caring about her feelings. "Xinga, you've crossed the line." I put on my coat and walked outside, hearing Xinga's roar from behind. "Crossing the line? What about that night last month? Why didn't you say it was crossing the line then? Shen Nanfeng, you've wronged me." Ignoring her attempts to stop me, I drove away quickly. On the night Yunxia gave birth last month, I was drunk, mistook Xinga for Yunxia, and made a mistake. After waking up, I didn't know how to face Yunxia, so I avoided going to the hospital. The car arrived at Yunxia's studio, watching Yunxia working diligently inside. My thoughts drifted back to the time when we had just gotten together. The focused Yunxia was beautiful and captivating to me, but after starting her career, she poured all her energy into her work and no longer paid as much attention to me as before. I couldn't handle this change. I didn't want Yunxia to continue working, so I cut off the funding and shut down the studio. Yunxia didn't say anything and agreed to go back home. After returning to the family, Xiaxia once again started prioritizing me in everything, making me even more convinced that my decision was right. And after Xinga appeared, this sense of vanity reached its peak. Every time Xinga calls me, she cries and begs me not to leave, pleading for me to stay. She, who used to care so much about her image, would also become hysterical in front of others because of me. It made me feel the reality of love, made me feel that she truly needs me, not that I need her. So, even knowing Xinga's depression was fake, I didn't care. I tried my best to avoid it, but I never expected Xiaxia would actually file for divorce. Does she really want to leave me that much? Fortunately, there's a 1-month cooling off period. I'm sure I can win Xiaxia back. 6-6. The truth is revealed. Brother Nan, stop drinking. You've been overdoing it these past few days. He Chen snatched Shen Nanfeng's glass away. What's going on? Is it because you didn't go when your wife gave birth last time and she got angry? That can't be. It's been so long. When has your wife ever stayed mad at you for this long? What's really going on? Shen Nanfeng suddenly stood up, his eyes fixed straight ahead, and rushed out. Welcome back, Sister Xia. I raised my glass and drank it all in one gulp. I'm going to the restroom. Please continue eating. Leaving the private room, I stood in the hallway for a while to cool off in the cold breeze. Once I felt a bit more clear-headed, I headed to the front desk to settle the bill. Suddenly, I was pulled back by a strong force. "Yunxia, let's not get divorced, okay?" The man's eyes were filled with red streaks. I shook off his hand and resolutely walked forward. Shen Nanfeng stared fixedly at my retreating figure, his expression desolate. The next day, the entrance to the studio was littered with cigarette butts. Shen Nanfeng had waited for me there all night. I ignored him and walked into the studio. "Xia, look, I brought you preserved flowers. They don't have pollen, so you won't have an allergic reaction." The man's voice was hoarse, tinged with a hint of anticipation. His response was the sound of a door being shut. That boy came again. Today, he started to open up to me about his inner thoughts: an unfaithful mother, an abusive father, a broken family, and a broken him. "Would you think I'm disgusting? People at school don't dare to get close to me. They say I'm unclean, that my mother is sick and I'll get sick too. But I'm not." The boy couldn't hold back his tears. "It's a good sign. You're not disgusting. Your family of origin isn't your fault. Qin Lang, you need to escape." It was just after work, so I took him out for dinner. Just stepped out. Shen Nanfeng was still there. He was staring intently at Qin Lang beside me. "Are you taking him to eat?" I paused in my steps. "Mind your own business. Ex-husband, don't interfere in your ex-wife's affairs." Ignoring the man's expression, I left with Qin Lang. I never expected Shen Nanfeng to be so persistent. Following me all the way to the restaurant, I took a deep breath. "Let's talk." The man's eyes suddenly lit up. We sat facing each other. The man attentively pulled out the chair for me. "Xia, I really know I was wrong. There's nothing between me and Zhao Xinga, really." I looked into his eyes, which were shifty. Suddenly, I let out a scornful laugh. "Where were you on the night I gave birth last month?" Seeing the man's pale face, I knew I had guessed correctly. "Next time, make sure to cover up the marks on your body, or it'll be too easy to give yourself away." Shen Nanfeng opened his mouth to defend himself, but I cut him off directly. I began to list out, one by one, the things he had said and done for Zhao Xinga over the past 3 years. Even something as trivial as Zhao Xinga not eating cilantro, he could remember it. "And I'm allergic to pollen, all these years, and he only found out now, because of my pollen allergy. I've been to the hospital 108 times in the past 3 years, and even the doctors there recognize me, and every time, it's because Zhao Xinga doesn't drink water, Zhao Xinga can't sleep. I'm always the one left behind." Watching Shen Nanfeng's increasingly pale face, I paused for a second and continued. "Could it be that you really don't know that Zhao Xinga is faking her illness?" "Of course he isn't. He has experienced it himself. How could he not know what a truly depressed person is like? He just enjoys seeing me lose my mind over him, enjoys having multiple admirers, and enjoys the feeling of being needed." After saying these words, I was already in tears. Shen Nanfeng raised his trembling hand, wanting to wipe away my tears, but I turned my head to avoid it, got up and left. 7. Regaining freedom. For the next half-month, I didn't see Shen Nanfeng again. The studio gradually got back on track. Qin Lang's condition is getting better and better, just like his name suggests. At the mall, I had a meal with Yang Shuang and Lin Shuo, who was just about to invest in our studio. Shen Nanfeng walked in with Zhao Xinga, paused when he saw me, and then came over to us. "Xia, who is he?" Shen Nanfeng showed a hostile expression. I thought I had made myself very clear half a month ago. Zhao Xinga suddenly spoke sarcastically, her voice sharp. "Sister Yunxia, how could you do this? You haven't even officially divorced brother Nanfeng yet, and you're already here having a meal with your new flame." Passers-by also raised their hands and pointed at me. I looked up at her, a faint smile curling at the corners of my lips. "Even without divorcing me, didn't you still sleep with him? Since you love picking up what others have discarded so much, you can have him. Enough." Zhao Xinga raised her hand to strike me, but Shen Nanfeng stopped her. My companion and I walked away without a second glance. No one paid them any mind. A month has passed, and I have smoothly returned to the single life. In the evening, my friends threw me a party to celebrate my escape from misery. "Here, sis, I ordered 18 male models for you, all your favorite types. Am I a good friend or what?" My friend winked at me, and I helplessly nodded. After finishing and returning home, there was a person standing at the door, looking desolate. Xiaxia, you're finally back. Look, I brought the child to you. See, doesn't he look just like you? The man kept chattering, wanting to continue speaking. I interrupt. Shen Nanfeng, why are you so persistent? If I remember correctly, we got divorced today. What kind of act are you putting on now? As I spoke, my eyes involuntarily drifted toward the child. It's been so long, and I haven't even seen the child once. Seeing this, Shen Nanfeng's expression improved, and he quickly placed the child into my hands before turning and leaving swiftly. By the time I came to my senses, Shen Nanfeng had already disappeared without a trace, left with no other choice. I could only take the child home first. Contacted Shen's mother to have her come pick up the child. But the villa's housekeeper told me that Shen's mother was on a business trip and wouldn't be back for a week. No wonder Shen Nanfeng had the chance to bring the child out. I looked at the child in my arms and couldn't help but smile, and he smiled back at me. The next day, Shen Nanfeng knocked on my door, carrying baby formula and diapers in both hands, skilled at changing diapers and feeding the baby. This continued for the next week, playing the role of a good father. On the 7th day, Mother Shen arrived on time, raised her hand and slapped Shen Nanfeng, then took the child away. I hope Auntie keeps the promise between us. Shen's mother glanced at me, then raised her hand to have someone take Shen Nanfeng away and place him under house arrest. Before leaving, Shen Nanfeng asked me, Xia, do you really have no feelings for me anymore? Yes. Would you have divorced me if it weren't for Zhao Xinga? Yes. The man looked desolate and finally left. Later, I heard that Zhao Xinga was sent abroad by the Zhao family and would never be allowed to return to the country. It was still Shen Nanfeng's doing. But none of this had anything to do with me anymore. Seeing Shen Nanfeng again was at my wedding. In the dressing room, the long unseen Shen Nanfeng had lost his former radiance, looking as if he had aged 10 years, with a few strands of grey hair already showing at such a young age. The man stared at me blankly. You're still the same as before. Not a bit changed. I smiled but did not accept the gift and card he offered. Take them. If he ever treats you poorly, these might help you. If he treats you badly, will you come back to me? Shen Nanfeng's voice grew softer. I looked into his eyes and began to speak. He was good to me, but in the end, the only one who can help me is myself. After all these years, Shen Nanfeng still doesn't know the real reason why I was so determined to get a divorce back then. Zhao Xinga was just the trigger. His desire to confine my thoughts was the real reason I wanted to escape. I haven't seen him since then. Life is long, with inevitable ups and downs, but I will always have the courage to start over. End. 8 Male leads perspective. I still ended up divorcing Yunxia. Half a month ago, I saw Yunxia having a meal with that man. I was furious, and anger instantly flooded my mind. I couldn't accept that she was out there working hard, having meals and laughing with other men. So I lost control for a moment, walked up to Xiaxia and confronted her, almost causing her harm. For a while after that, I kept thinking about how to mend my relationship with Yunxia. At the same time, I started working on the Zhao family's connections, preparing to send Zhao Xinga away. I contacted a psychiatric hospital abroad. Since she loves pretending, I'll let her pretend to her heart's content. On the day of the divorce, I secretly took the child out. I believe Yunxia still has feelings for him. Sure enough, Yunxia couldn't help but glance at the child. I only have this 1 week to make Xiaxia change her mind. Every morning, I go to Xiaxia's place, make breakfast for her, change the baby's diaper, and feed the baby, doing laundry and cooking at noon. I'll leave after putting the child to sleep in the evening, striving to fulfill the role of a father, letting Xiaxia know that I am genuinely making an effort to change. When I left, I asked Xiaxia if it was because of Zhao Xinga. As long as Xiaxia says yes, I'll send Zhao Xinga away immediately. No matter how much Xiaxia rejects me, I'll persist to the very end. But Xiaxia said no. I felt something inside me crack, but I couldn't find it, nor could I mend it. I used a forged medical report to have Zhao Xinga admitted to a psychiatric hospital and made sure the news reached Xiaxia. But Xiaxia showed no reaction. She has a new boyfriend now, and I dug into his background thoroughly. If there was even a hint of a dark past, I would have had a reason to drive him away from Shasha. But there was nothing, he was too clean. Time flew by, and it was Shasha's wedding day. I went to the dressing room to find her, bringing the carefully prepared gift and the foundation I had set up for her. Shasha was as beautiful and resilient as ever, she refused. It turns out that I was the one who changed, forgetting that my Shasha would never be the kind of person to lose herself over such trivial matters. I was the one who always wanted to change her. Shasha, happy wedding. The end. That's all for today's story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe. Every week, we bring you new and exciting content that you won't want to miss. Also, feel free to share your thoughts and feelings in the comments section. Let's discuss and exchange ideas together. Remember to turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any updates to our stories. Thank you for your support, and see you in the next episode.